Hey, everybody. So we're going to do what I'm going to train on today is what I'm calling how to create the flawless, fast, smooth. So flawless, fast, and smooth, no drama mortgage transaction, which is really the definition of our slogan. On time, under budget, no surprises, Otubns, right? So that's what we're going to talk about. And we talked about the book Extreme Ownership the other day in our state of the company meeting, and that's what this is about. It's about taking an extreme ownership approach to the outcome that your clients are going to have. This is just what the mortgage business is, and too often people in the mortgage business end up taking shortcuts. This is about not taking any shortcuts. This is about creating, because those shortcuts that people take always lead to a bad outcome. So I've identified 3 critical success factors that I believe will give you the kind of transaction, exactly the kind of transaction that you're looking for, exactly the kind of transaction that you want to have. So critical success factor, number 1, it's framing your story as to why you want the customer to follow your process, and so that you can create the perfect outcome. It's setting the expectations with everything that needs to be done right away without delay, locking, getting updated documents, having an inspector in place, having their insurance plan in place, having the assets in place, and not moving any money around. These are all and I'm sure if you sat through, you'd pick about 4 or 5 more things that could really make an impact into the kind of transaction you're going to create for your customer. But that's the first one. Framing a story as to, and it has to be relatable and believable. The second one is critical success factor number 2 is you've got to know your shit as a loan officer. Okay. It's just that simple. So related to the loan you're doing, to the client, to the property, you just got to know your shit as it relates to anything that could create a potential issue. So I'm talking about credit reports. I'm talking, whatever's on the credit report, the potential issues and landmines that can blow up a deal. Delegated versus undelegated, or how is this file going to be underwritten? What are the turn times for underwriting if it's non-delegated? Appraisals. Do we control the appraisal? Is it going to be our panel, or is it going to be the investor's panel? Does it require 2 appraisals? Does it require the investor to review the appraisal? There's all these things that you need to know about so that you can prepare everybody accordingly. As long as you prepare them in advance, you can tell the customer pretty much anything you want. You have to understand all the requirements related to tax transcripts, max debt to income ratios versus the liabilities, what's being counted, what isn't. How is all the debt being counted? When it comes to the student loans, are you accounting for that correctly? How all the assets will be counted. That's a big one, especially on these jumbo deals. From 100% of the asset being able to be counted for reserves to 50% of the asset being. We had a deal a couple of weeks ago where it looked like we had plenty of money. We ended up with like a sliver of a cushion when it was all said and done, just because of the way the assets, the different classification of assets were being counted. So you can't breeze by anything. You have to know. Okay. Critical success factor number 3, 0 delays. Okay. It's that. You got to lock this file and you got to turn it over, especially if this is a fast file. I hear too many times in sales and operations where the file got triggered. Our standard operating procedure, our SOP for when that file is due. If you trigger the app today, it's due in tomorrow. If I was doing these loans today, especially if I had a team, but even if I wasn't, I'd be doing everything I can. I trigger the app, I'm turning the app over today. I'm getting that thing into the operations hands as fast as I possibly can, because I just picked up another day. If I wait a day and I turn it over, I lost a day, didn't I? So I want as much time as possible, especially on these short contracts. If it's not jumbo, if we're underwriting it, you can do a deal in 10 days, but not if you sit on the application for 3 more days. How are we going to do that, right? So you want to give yourself as much cushion as you possibly can. So locking it and turning it over the day you get the contract, File turnover is complete. The turnover notes are complete and accurate. You do that handoff call. You cover everything with clear direction on everything as it relates to the file, the assets, everything. You just leave nothing to chance. Jumbo checklists are complete. I mean, it just all of this stuff matters. So everything you know all the things that you're supposed to be doing. So it's just a question of doing it. And then here's the most important part. And I've shown this, I've demonstrated this a million times, but the client's going to do exactly whatever you tell them they have to do, as long as they like you and they trust you, right? So you will have already had to build rapport, likability, and trust. But the one key thing is you have to sound like you know exactly what they have to do and what the steps are they have to follow to create this experience that you want them to have, this amazing transaction. But you have to say it with confidence and authority. You can't sound like, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do my best, and say things like that, right? So here's how I would frame the story. So I've written this script up. I wrote this up right before I started this training. And so it sounds a little bit like this. This is setting the customer up for getting the docs in for pre-approval. I'm going to be looking at my script here. I only wrote this once and then I haven't read it since. Mr. Borrower, I bought 3 homes before I ever got in the mortgage business. And I have to tell you that all 3 times I had the most stressful and disorganized mortgage experience. And quite frankly, when I first got in the mortgage business, I was really worried, like, how am I going to, I don't want to put my clients through the same thing. And so, the last minute requests for documents, like the day of closing or the day before closing, totally freaked me out. Finding out I needed a lot more money the day before closing than I was told I was going to need. Everything was stressful and everything was last minute. It felt rushed. It felt like nobody did anything on my loan until the last couple of days because I didn't hear from anybody about anything. And that's exactly the opposite of how we do it here. What I've learned after being in this business for 25 years is that when I set the right expectations with you on the first day, we can create a flawless, stress-free home buying mortgage experience every single time. Now, would you like to know how we can do that for you? Customer's going to say yes. What we're going to do is I'm going to put together a list of all the documentation we're going to need to be able to issue you our Zenith certified pre-approval, which essentially makes you a cash buyer and brings your offer to the top of the pile in a competitive offer situation. Now, what I need you to read from you is your commitment to get me 100% of the documentation I request so that there are no delays in my ability to issue that pre-approval for you. Can you make that commitment? Customer's going to say yes. Always wait for the answer, right? And then respond with excellent. Now, I also want to prepare you for what's going to happen after you go under contract. Again, my experience tells me that the key to a successful transaction is just simply working as quickly as possible at the front end when you first get that offer accepted, as quickly as possible without delay, to get your loan cleared to close in the shortest amount of time possible. Because I know once I send that email to you that your loan's cleared to close, I get to eliminate a bunch of stress for you. And so that's what I want to do as fast as I can. So as soon as I receive the contract from your agent, we're getting on the call. We're going to get on a call together to review your locking options so that we can get your rate locked in that same day, so that I can immediately get your file turned in for processing and underwriting that same day. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. And if it's been more than 90 days since we issued your pre-approval, I'm going to be requesting some updated income and asset information from you, which we're going to need within 24 hours. Okay. The 2 other things you need to be ready for in advance are to already have a home inspector picked out. So talk to your agent, as well as having your homeowner's insurance agent already picked out. Okay. So you can do some shopping around now if you want to, but the time for shopping for homeowner's insurance isn't after you go under contract. So I need you to have that in place as well. The goal and the key here is to avoid anything that would be a delay. Now, during the final underwriting process, my underwriter could come back to us and ask us for another document or 2. And I want you to know it's not that uncommon. And if it happens, we're going to request it from you as soon as we know. And then we're going to need that back from you right away within 24 hours. Our goal is to get you that clear to close email as soon as possible. Because like I said, I know that it takes all the stress away about the financing. So let me ask you, how does that sound? Customer's going to say exactly. So now when that client goes under contract, all you have to do is remind him of that conversation, because you've already remind them at the time of the lock, okay, you're getting ready to, like, they're getting ready to make an offer. Just remind them, okay, we're going to do that call tomorrow. You don't want to wait a day. Like, I hear about loan officers, yeah, I haven't locked them in yet. Like, what? Like, lock the freaking loan. Let's go. Get them out. The goal is to get them moving forward as fast as possible. So you don't have to take shortcuts to all of this. This doesn't have to feel rushed. I don't want the customer to ever feel rushed. You don't want to do that. But when you frame the story the right way and then you build yourself a script, this is all that's going to work. I've already sent this script out. I'll include it with this video. And I'd love to hear your feedback on this. So if anybody has any questions or any other, but again, this is all about framing. It's all about knowing your shit. And it's all about having no delays. Pretty simple, guys. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have an awesome day.